Hello, my name is ryanswapp, and I recently was building an app in which I had to create a URL shortener. It's a pretty easy thing to do, but I figured I'd make a package to make it a little bit easier. And so I created a package today and figured I'd create a little tutorial video so I can show you how to use it. If you don't want to watch the video, there's always just these simple instructions that I've provided here in the README. But let's get started with creating this app. So I've got a test directory here. I use the iron CLI to create my apps. So I'm going to create a URL shortener app. So we'll do iron create URL shortener. One thing to notice here is you'll see it's installing the iron router package, and this app or this package relies on iron router. So you'll definitely have to install it if you'd like to use this. And the next thing we got to do is I'm going to add some packages here. So we got to go into the app folder where the Meteor app actually lives, and then I'm going to add, first of all, there's this materialize package which throws the materialize CSS framework in. So I'm just going to add this just to make things look a little bit better. So we'll add that in there. The second thing is we want to add this alert package. This is a really cool package. If you haven't used it, you should definitely check it out. So we will throw that in there. And then last but not least, we will add my package. So this is the ryanswapp URL shortener package. So we'll add that guy. And then let's go ahead and remove the insecure package, and we'll remove auto publish as well. Okay, looks like we should be ready to go. So I'm going to get back into the root directory here, and we'll call iron run. This is just how iron CLI starts a Meteor app. So if I go to localhost, we'll just see the home directory here. So I have some code pre-prepared so this video isn't super long and I don't make a fool of myself live coding. So actually I need to get into my editor here. So let's open up Atom, and I'm just going to throw this in the home template that was automatically created by the iron CLI. So go in there and I'll paste this code in. So basically what we've got going on here is at the top I am throwing the salert template in. Oh, nobody can see here, it's just a simple URL shortener input. But then these are just some classes that come with the materialize CSS framework, and when you build a form with materialize, each of the label and inputs has to be inside of a div with the class of input field. So two things to note here are, first of all, just these classes that I've got. So on the input right here, I've got a class of URL to shorten, and then on this button I've got a class of shorten. The rest of these are just materialize classes. And so that's the first thing to notice, because we're going to use those to call, to grab the event and to grab the text from this input. The second thing is just this short URL helper that I've got here. And so we can go ahead and define that now. And basically what I'm going to be doing here is returning the a session variable that I set. So basically I'm just creating a session variable, and then I'm going to return a session. I'm going to create the helper and return the session variable. So the next thing we need to do is, in our rendered section, we just need to set the short URL variable. I'm going to set it to an empty string. So there we go. The next thing we want to do here is create the event. So when somebody clicks that button with the class of shorten, we want to, first of all, just prevent the default action. And then in order to get this URL shortener method to work, you need to pass an object into it with a long URL property. And that long URL property is just the URL that you're going to be entering into here. So we grab that value and then we pass that into this function. If it's an error, it's going to throw the salert error and then throw an actual Meteor error. And then if it passes, it's going to provide us a response object with a property for the path. And so this path is just going to be the short URL string. So it'd be something like the default is 5 characters, and it just pulls this from the ID of the short URL document that it creates. And so it'll be something like this. And so as you can see here, I am going to set the short URL session variable to the root path plus the s/ and the response path. And so this is going to create for us something like this. And then, whatever the 5 deal thing happens to be. So this is what a short URL is going to look like. I initially had just had it so it was like this, but then I realized it was catching all kinds of routes, and I couldn't figure out a good workaround, so I ended up just setting it up like this so that you don't have to worry about it catching your other routes and giving you redirect errors. So we will set that up. Another thing that you'll want to, or that we need to set up here, is that we need to create the configuration for the short alert. So I'm just going to throw that in there, and then I've got this code over here. So we're setting the effects just to bouncy flip, and I just realized that I need to also add that bouncy flip, because with salert there's special effects that you can use, and you need to add a separate package in order to get those to work. So I am going to add that package real quick to get bouncy flip to work. So we'll get back into the app, and then we will all right, just gotta Meteor add that. Okay, cool. So that should all work. We've got our configuration set up. And so now I believe that we have done everything we need to. The other thing that you'll probably want to do is set up a redirect for when someone tries to go to a short URL that doesn't exist. So the way you can do that is in the lib folder of your app, just create a file for that, and then you can set the configurations in a Meteor startup function. So I've got the startup function here, and I'm just going to set the bad URL option to bad URLs, and essentially what this is going to do is it's going to append bad URLs to our root URL, and so and this is just a relative path. So you're going to pass it the relative path of whatever template you want to send it to, and so we need to create a bad URLs path. So with iron CLI, you can do iron generate template, and I'll just throw this in the shared folder, bad URLs. Okay, so that means that if we go up here and we do, and say, we go to fart, which is not an actual one, it'll take us to the bad URLs page. Well, actually, it's going to our not found page because I haven't set up a route yet. So let's go do that. And okay, so now we've got our route here. So if we try this again, go to the bad URLs page. So let's go ahead and create a short URL. So let's say we want to go, create one to Google. Then we will do that. It'll appear here because I set that helper with the session variable. And then if I go here, it'll take us to Google. So that is my quick shorten URL app. Really simple, really easy. Feel free to post an issue if you have suggestions for how to improve it or you have questions. But I hope this video is able to answer any questions that you do have. Also, one thing to note is that it's going to automatically publish the short URLs, and so that publish function is going to look something like this. So it's just going to return all of them, and then you can do with that as you please. But that is my short little app, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.